The Roloff family saga has taken yet another dark and dramatic turn, and this time it's not just rumors or online speculation. It's sworn testimony. In the aftermath of the shocking FBI raid on Roloff Farms, a stunning revelation has surfaced, one that could change everything fans thought they knew about Matt Roloff's longtime partner, Caryn Chandler. According to a sworn appraiser's testimony, what unfolded behind the scenes of Roloff Farms wasn't just a series of business missteps. It may have been a carefully orchestrated million-dollar fraud. For years, Caryn has held quiet but undeniable influence over the financial heartbeat of the Roloff empire, from overseeing farm operations to guiding key property decisions that shaped the family's legacy. Her role wasn't just personal, it was deeply financial. She wasn't merely standing beside Matt Roloff, she was embedded in the foundation of the business itself. But now, new allegations suggest that Caryn's influence may have gone far beyond simple advice or support. According to the appraiser's testimony, documents linked to Roloff Farms show questionable valuations, forged signatures, and hidden bank accounts that allegedly shifted money in ways that no one in the Roloff family could have imagined. These revelations have sent shockwaves through both the Roloff family and the tight-knit community around them. What started as whispers of irregular bookkeeping has now exploded into something much bigger, something criminal. And it all leads to one central, burning question. Did Caryn Chandler secretly orchestrate a million-dollar fraud right under everyone's noses? Because if this testimony holds true, the story of Roloff Farms, once a symbol of hard work, love, and legacy, may now be remembered as one of the most shocking betrayals in the family's history. Stay tuned, because the truth that's emerging is more explosive than anyone could have ever predicted. Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. For Roloff family latest news update, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. The heart of this unfolding scandal centers on one man, the certified appraiser who was originally hired to determine the fair market value of Roloff Farms. According to court records and leaked testimonies, he was first brought into the picture when Matt Roloff began considering a full or partial sale of the family property several years ago. The appraisal process was supposed to be routine, a standard valuation for legal, tax, and inheritance purposes. But as time went on, discrepancies began to appear, numbers didn't add up. Assets seemed overvalued or, in some cases, deliberately underreported. The appraiser, whose identity remains confidential under a court order, took the witness stand last week, and what he revealed sent shockwaves through the courtroom. Under oath, he admitted that certain valuation figures were intentionally adjusted at the request of a third party, a statement that immediately caught everyone's attention. When pressed by prosecutors to name that third party, he paused, visibly nervous, before saying the name that no one expected: Caryn Chandler. Gasps reportedly rippled through the courtroom. Caryn, sitting beside her attorney, appeared stunned yet composed, but the appraiser didn't stop there. He went on to describe a pattern of interference that allegedly spanned multiple property evaluations. He claimed that he had been approached several times by Caryn, who asked him to make the numbers look right in order to align with internal financial goals, specifically those that would influence Matt's business decisions and potential buyout negotiations with his children. Documents were then introduced into evidence, a series of emails, draft reports, and handwritten notes that prosecutors said showed direct communication between Caryn and the appraiser. One particular email, dated nearly 2 years ago, allegedly contained phrasing that raised serious questions. Matt doesn't need to see every detail, just make sure the south acreage doesn't come in too low, or the deal falls apart. The courtroom fell silent as these documents were displayed on a projector screen. The handwriting, reportedly confirmed to be Caryn through forensic analysis, included notations about adjusting comparable sales and rounding up to meet target value. According to the testimony, this wasn't a one-time occurrence, but part of a broader pattern designed to influence the reported worth of Roloff Farms. Financial analysts reviewing the case say that these manipulated figures could have had significant implications, potentially affecting everything from bank loans and tax filings to the terms of intra-family negotiations. The prosecution argued that Caryn's alleged actions may have artificially inflated the property's worth in certain reports while undervaluing it in others, depending on what benefited her and Matt at the time. As the appraiser continued, he described how uncomfortable he felt, torn between professional ethics and the pressure he claimed was coming from someone who had authority on the farm. He admitted to altering numbers in at least 3 separate reports, each time under the impression that the changes were necessary to keep the peace or protect Matt's interests. But what the court is now debating is whether Caryn's role went beyond influence into deliberate fraud. This revelation tied directly into long-standing rumors among the Roloff fanbase that Caryn had been quietly managing the financial side of the farm, far more than Matt or the family ever publicly admitted. Over the years, fans noticed how she became deeply involved in scheduling events, managing seasonal operations, and even handling certain business records. What once appeared to be a helpful partnership may now look, to investigators, like a coordinated effort to control both the farm's image and its assets. In the courtroom, reactions were intense. Matt Roloff reportedly looked shocked and deeply conflicted. Sources close to him say he whispered to his attorney multiple times as the testimony unfolded, appearing pale and visibly shaken. Amy Roloff, who was in attendance that day, was seen shaking her head in disbelief, at one point leaning toward her friend to say, "I knew something wasn't right." Zach and Tori, who have long distanced themselves from the farm operations, were said to be watching the proceedings remotely. According to one insider, Zach was furious but not surprised, believing this confirmed years of tension and mistrust surrounding Caryn's involvement in financial matters. By the end of the appraiser's testimony, the courtroom atmosphere was described as stunned silence, a collective realization that what was once seen as mere family drama may now have legal consequences. Prosecutors hinted that this was only the beginning, that more witnesses, including former employees and financial consultants, would be called to testify about alleged forged signatures, altered balance sheets, and hidden bank transfers. As the judge called for a brief recess, whispers filled the courtroom, and one phrase reportedly echoed again and again among observers: "This changes everything." The appraiser's confession not only exposed possible financial misconduct, but also struck at the heart of what made Roloff Farms a symbol of family unity. What was once a proud family legacy may now be seen as the center of a growing scandal, one that threatens to unravel decades of trust and reputation in front of the entire world. What began as whispers in the shadows has now turned into a full-blown financial scandal, and at the center of it all lies one burning question: where did all the money go? According to documents introduced during the ongoing investigation, the alleged scheme began quietly, almost invisibly, within the financial operations of Roloff Farms, Inc. Insiders claim that over several years, hundreds of thousands of dollars were moved between the farm's business accounts and personal accounts allegedly managed by Caryn Chandler. These weren't simple withdrawals or payroll transfers. Investigators say they were deliberately disguised as farm-related expenses, allowing them to slip past standard accounting checks. The alleged paper trail begins with what experts now refer to as the invoice loop. Fake invoices were reportedly created under the names of non-existent vendors, companies that supposedly provided materials, landscaping, and renovation services for Roloff Farms. On paper, these looked legitimate, detailed, itemized, and professionally formatted. But when auditors dug deeper, the addresses linked back to empty lots, shell corporations, and even private P.O. boxes registered under aliases. From there, the pattern allegedly expanded. Land valuations for Roloff properties were mysteriously inflated, sometimes by as much as 30% above market rate. This meant that when parts of the land were refinanced, the excess valuation could generate higher than deserved credit or loan approvals. The extra funds, investigators allege, were then quietly redirected to accounts under Caryn's oversight. Sources close to the situation suggest that Caryn maintained exclusive control over certain, off-the-books, transactions funds that were never officially logged in the farm's accounting software. These were reportedly justified as temporary project funds or vendor reimbursements, but several of those accounts have now been flagged by forensic accountants for suspicious activity. Even longtime supporters of Matt Roloff are expressing disappointment, saying they feel betrayed by his refusal to address the situation directly. Many wonder how much Matt knew and whether his trust in Caryn blinded him to what was happening behind the scenes. At fan conventions and online meetups dedicated to the show, emotions are running high. Some are reminiscing about the early days of LPBW, when the family's biggest challenges revolved around farm work and parenting, not FBI investigations and court testimonies. Others say this may mark the end of the Roloffs' public legacy, claiming that no amount of editing or TLC spin can undo the damage now done. In short, the fallout has been seismic. Amy's heartbreak, Zach and Tori's withdrawal, the production freeze, and a fan base in revolt, all of it paints a picture of a family standing on the brink. And as public opinion continues to turn sharply against Caryn, one question echoes through every corner of the internet. As the dust begins to settle from the shocking courtroom revelations, the question now turns to what happens next, and the answers aren't looking simple for anyone involved. Legal experts following the case closely say the implications could be enormous. If the appraiser's sworn testimony holds up and investigators confirm that property valuations and financial documents were manipulated, Caryn Chandler could be facing serious charges, potentially including fraud, falsification of records, and conspiracy to defraud. These are not small accusations. Each carries hefty financial penalties and, in some cases, possible prison time. One Portland-based legal analyst explained that if Roloff Farms' finances were used in any way to facilitate the alleged fraud, Matt Roloff himself might not be spared from consequences, even if he didn't directly participate. When a family business is involved in financial misconduct, the expert said, ownership can become complicated, especially if profits or assets were tied to falsified valuations. In other words, Matt could risk losing partial control or ownership of Roloff Farms, the very property he's poured decades of his life into. The farm, once a symbol of family unity and hard work, now sits at the center of an investigation that could reshape its future. Court filings and leaked documents reportedly show that federal authorities are reviewing all recent property transfers and account transactions linked to the business, a process that could take months. Until then, much of the farm's financial activity is said to be frozen pending verification. Meanwhile, speculation about Caryn Chandler's next move has taken over online forums and fan discussions. Some believe she'll remain silent until her legal team crafts a defense strategy. Others suspect she may pursue a private settlement to avoid a drawn-out court battle and further media humiliation. But there's also talk that Caryn, who's never shied away from confrontation, could go on the offensive, possibly filing a counter-lawsuit claiming defamation or financial manipulation against others in the Roloff circle. For now, her public silence speaks volumes. Friends close to her say Caryn feels betrayed and unfairly targeted, while critics argue that she's been manipulating the situation for years. Either way, her next move could define the trajectory of the entire scandal. And what about Little People, Big World itself? Sources inside TLC suggest that production has been indefinitely paused as executives wait for clarity. Contracts, filming schedules, and sponsorships are reportedly under review. Some insiders even say the network might consider rebranding or launching a spin-off focusing on other family members if the legal chaos makes continued filming impossible. For longtime fans, it's heartbreaking to see how far the Roloff legacy has fallen. From an inspiring story of perseverance and family bonds, the brand now stands shadowed by suspicion and scandal. Whether the show survives or not, one thing is certain: the Roloff name will never carry the same innocence it once did. As the legal gears continue to turn, the world watches and waits. Will justice bring closure? Will the farm survive the fallout? Or will this be the final chapter in a once-beloved American family story? The answers are still ahead, and they may change everything. As the dust begins to settle, the full weight of this scandal is only now becoming clear. What started as whispers of financial mismanagement has exploded into one of the most emotionally and legally devastating chapters in the Roloff family's history. Lives have been upended, reputations shattered, and a once-beloved family empire now stands on the brink of ruin. For Matt Roloff, this has become more than just a financial crisis. It's a deeply personal betrayal that cuts to the heart of trust and loyalty. For Caryn, the allegations have transformed her from a longtime partner and business associate into the central figure in a $1 million fraud investigation. And for the rest of the Roloff family, Amy, Zach, Tori, and the grandchildren, they're left to pick up the pieces of what's left, watching from the sidelines as the legacy they helped build teeters on collapse. In the end, it's a painful reminder of how quickly success can turn to sorrow when greed overshadows love, and when trust is traded for control. The Roloff name, once synonymous with perseverance and family unity, now finds itself at the center of an unfolding legal and emotional storm. But this story isn't over. Behind closed doors, investigators are still unraveling the truth. And as new evidence continues to emerge, one can't help but wonder, will justice finally close in, or will this be another chapter of secrets buried deep within Roloff Farms? With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.